Recording in progress. I guess it's okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Seems everything perfect. So, um, one moment. Okay. So, uh, thanks everyone, for coming. This is 2025 ATHE AAP conference session. The first presenter is Professor Moon and Professor Seetoo. The presentation title is Dialogue Intelligence, Misunderstanding and Poetry. I'll briefly read the bio because it's really long. Professor Moon is Assistant Arts Professor of Interactive Media Arts at NYU Shanghai. His research-based pedagogy and contributions focus on making AI machine learning emerging technologies more accessible. And Dr. Chiayi Seetoo is a professor at the Shanghai Theatre Academy with a PhD in performance studies from UC Berkeley. She has published in TDR Theatre Journal, Asia Theatre Journal, and the Routledge Companion to Buddha Performance, among others. So welcome, and the floor is all yours.
Okay, thank you, Mon, for organizing the panel and having us here. We're very happy to attend this symposium and basically to share some of our preliminary thoughts on AI and creativity based on our own Moon and mine collaboration and pedagogical practice. I will begin by outlining the key concepts that frame our presentation today: dialogue, intelligence, misunderstanding, poetry. Then Moon will share and demonstrate the AI tools he developed for learning of dance and creativity before I wrap up with some final thoughts and questions to conclude our presentation. Current AI models widely simulate dialogue with their intelligence grounded in data, statistical patterns, and algorithms. So think about ChatGPT and recently the DeepSeek that's just launched by Chinese developers. The phenomenon prompts us to reflect on the form of dialogue as a performative precondition for human AI co-creation. In human conversations, subjective experience, memory, and intention guide interactions, fostering moments of insight, negotiation, as well as creativity. That is, dialogue, more than information exchange, problem solving, or task performing, is a dynamic, evolving process that shapes meaning through ongoing intersubjective exchanges. But what happens when dialogue extends beyond the human realm? We're interested in rethinking how the dialogical makes ground for creative expansion. In human AI collaboration, dialogue is reframed. It becomes an interplay between pattern-driven computation and human interpretation. While AI models generate responses in language, image, sound, and even movement, they're not based on lived experience, intentionality, and emotion. Does the absence of such create limitations, or does it open space for new forms of meaning making and aesthetic perception? Since 2019, Moon and I have collaborated on the making of live interactive new media dance performances. One is Avatar Mythology, an intermediate performance that features dance and motion capture and interactive animation, and that draws on Shanhai Jing, or Classic of Mountains and Seas, a Chinese classic text of mythic geography and beasts. In dialogue with the presence of avatar or modes of ultra being in the form of animation, as our own philosophical spin on the mythology. So here is a little demonstration of what it looks like on Moon's screen when he also does real-time manipulation of the animation, which I will talk a little bit more about shortly after. So the other project is myself and I in the stream.
Excuse me, Jess.
Oh,
Perhaps
okay.
I can take over. Yes.
You want to jump in now?
Yeah,
Okay.
right. So I think I can just like showcase a little bit more. So this is relevant to what I'm describing. Like I'm gonna utilize a machine learning model, and I can get, for example, like an elbow, and also hand, and like a shoulder position. And then based on that, I also create some elastic or like a natural like a structure utilizing certain physical calculation. And then since we wanted to create a mythical creature that can be encountered to the dancers, so in a way I wanted to create a bird like kind of like a structure utilizing creative coding. And then, so I really enjoyed utilizing this kind of graphic. It's because it can be seen like a seashell, leaf, or feather. So with this single element, a single image, it can visualize a creature evolving over time. So yeah, so for example, like the creature looks like this, and then like an image can be added in this way, and eventually can be shown this way. This is me testing it, like, and then like I showcased to like Professor Seetoo. So it was more like I was kind of like showcasing. I was a plant at the beginning, and then I can be a bird-like creature later on. Yeah. So yeah.
Okay, thank you. Yes. Yeah, I will come back to that from my experience for this project very soon. But let me introduce the other project that we worked on together. The name is Myself and I in the Stream of Virtual Subconsciousness. That also combines real-time visual generation, but based on machine learning, which is precursor of AI, motion capture, dance, and various settings of human-machine improvisatory frameworks. The dialogue not only happened between Moon and I, but also between human and machine, and that involved translation, transference, regeneration, and interpretation across very different modes of intelligence. Between embodied dancing, which concerns corporeal, kinesthetic, psychosomatic, co-present intersubjectivity with the audience and environmental materiality, as well as the algorithmic processing that Moon has started to explain and will demonstrate further later in this interactive new media mechanisms. So in one scene, which Moon just shown about this creature that evolves into a bird in Avatar mythology, the real-time animation mirrors my movement because it captures my movement through motion capture and algorithmic data processing, while the uncanny self-reflection via this avatar in the form of a strange creature triggers my psychophysical reaction in the moment of each performance within the structured improvisational framework. The variables of interactivity are also enhanced by Moon's real-time manipulation during performance, which he just demonstrated. So the creature not only mirrors my movement, but the animation can also change in terms of its size, its positioning. So it throws me off a little bit of scripted expectations and triggers also my performance in the moment. So it was really a real-time dialogue between the machine and I, and also Moon and I. As to the other work, the interactive new media mechanism is slightly different. The visual output features a design built on machine learning process leading to real-time generation. Within a decided aesthetic parameter, the particleization of one's visible self in the projected visual images poetically corresponds with the theme of the piece about the ebbs and flows, recalling and fading away of one's memory of oneself. In these instances, although a certain intention, structure, or parameter is set, we have been open to and even embraced unexpected outcomes or misunderstanding from the machine. Traditionally, misunderstanding is seen as a failure, an error in communication, a breakdown in clarity. However, in artistic and poetic contexts, it can be potentially productive rather than restrictive. Recent discussions in AI-assisted scriptwriting also expose instances where AI-generated dialogue deviated from conventional narrative logic that ultimately contributed to experimental storytelling. This, in fact, aligns with some traditions in avant-garde art and literature where breaking conventional structures leads to new aesthetic possibilities. Seen another way, AI feedback may transcend habitual thinkings and choices of performance by human beings. Could this be utilized to stimulate and expand human creativity, or prospects for creative pedagogy could be afforded by human AI dialogues? And now, let me pass the floor to Moon.
Thank you, Jess. So I've been developing AI and also machine learning models and also processes for focus for like our learners as an educator. So I have been exploring pedagogical explorations multiple times utilizing AI. Because I really enjoy collaborating with dancers, choreographers. So I also try to apply this to like the field of dance and acting. So let me showcase the demo first. So this is the demo that I created. As you can see, this is just like a website. And on the website, we can run many machine learning models, particularly in this like a situation, in this tutorial, excuse me, like the tool. So body pose and GPT is used. Let me quickly load and then showcase. So yeah, so it's very simple. Like you can just like run and then like it run on the web page. It means even this program can run on your mobile phone. So in that sense, it's very light. And as you can see, like it's tracking my body very well, and also it shows the confidence level as well. And it can show my whole body in this way, right? So definitely this can be used for tracking body movement. And then, but I just wanted to like highlight a certain part. For example, what about you want to see the direction of my hand movement? So in a way, like so in this way, like you can calculate the direction of the movement and also at the same time the acceleration of the movement. So if I like just use my hand, like it can be like clearer, so it gets the direction and also like some again like highlight and also the direction and also acceleration as well. The acceleration can be also visualized. Somewhat like the kinetic energy can be shown as like a purple circle. So yeah, so I do have the sound component, but let me skip it. But I just want to show you some other like examples. For example, like I was very inspired by like someone, excuse me, two hands. Like so what about like you can project a certain like a line between multiple position, and then the position can be selected in any way. And then for example, what about you can like show like a certain volume like between two body positions. So again, like to demonstrate purpose, I'm only utilizing my hand positions, but it can be anything else. But let me just focus on something else. So these are not the focus. So what I wanted to describe is the GPT component. Since we are in the context of dialogue, so now I'm enabling the let's say the GPT aspect. So it will like try to describe myself. So because I stayed still, so the person is like remain stationary. And then if I move it a little bit, let's just see how it describes my body. So movement. So like yeah, person left hands and like moved moderately, right hands shifted. So yeah, so you can let me reduce the interval later on after the demonstration. So in this way, like the machine learning model can describe me in text. Then I can also provide additional prompts. So you guys can feel free to like give any prompt, but let me just say like a bird, and then for example, like a fly high, and or can't fly. And once I add more prompt, so based on this general description, like a certain poemic text reinterpretation can be provided. So yeah, and also what about like I'm a robot, like a noisy. So yeah, I'm choosing like some silly like keywords, but in a way like so again, I just wanted to demonstrate the um so the processes. And so based on the discussion with Professor Seetoo, we also explored further. So this might be like inspiring, interesting enough for dancers. However, how about like this can suggest the next movement? So the another aspect we implemented is the next movement. For example, based on this, and then like what about like we assume this is underwater. And then like a swimming, and then like so we can meet a sea creature. So like so based on the frame, based on the conceptual frame, it constantly try to give some next movement. So because I'm kind of showing my arms movement, so now it says that like move for example slowly extend a hand or something like that. Let me reduce the interval so that we can see the text clearly. So yeah, so extend a hand towards or something like that. So it suggests like the next movement. Let me make one more example. Like now it's just like 15 minute and 15-second duration. Let's see. Yeah, so a person continually extended their right hand and then towards the sea creature, right? Inviting gentle interaction. So in a way, so again, like this suggests a certain like a conceptual frame and also next movement. So this is the demonstration. Let me get back to the slide. So okay, so this was demonstrated in this way. So because of time constraint, I couldn't demonstrate a lot. But like this is we use like I'll say like I was inspired by the such great reference. So more like a contact improvisation technique. So in a way, certain body part is certain parts are assigned, and then like the dancers are in a way like triggered or like encouraged to utilize the body practice. So this was that kind of tool. And so as I demonstrated, we can detect the body key point. And these are a bunch of X, Y, possibly Z values, bunch of like a coordinate discrete data set. But it can be reorganized by me. So I only like focus on certain significant movement by checking the acceleration. So for example, I focus on like arms and legs. So by calculating the acceleration of those body parts, I can like determine, yes, so this person moved really quickly. This was person's pose was sustained, something like that. And also we get the directions as well. So that was the point. But the thing is, these useful outside numbers can be just sent to GPT and then create a general description. So a person raised their right arm off of their head. So this can be easily described by a language model or a GPT model as well. But the thing is, so while we are exploring the creativity, we explored further. So this general description can be sent back to GPT once again, and with a certain real-time user input. So in this particular situation, so we use like in this particular like a situation on the slide, like so a bird cannot fly, for example. Then so it says it create another text for like based on this like a theme we provide. So yeah. So this was very inspiring, I'll say iteration. Like, so the dance was inspired by this kind of text, and then they explored their like other movements as well. So this was the showcase. So they were able to check their body and also the text in this way, and then again explore the any body movement. So based on the discussion with the Jess, like Professor Seetoo, like we also try to apply to this to acting. So for example, like a person raised their right arm, for example, this general description can be framed like in a play, like in a certain script. For example, like so, I just utilized Hamlet, but yeah. Anyway, so then so based on the theme, like it generate some like reinterpretation and also at the same time suggest the next movement. So then like what about you try this, what about you try that, but within the context. So if you actually take a look at this one, maybe I'm not gonna describe it again, but you can constantly like provide a certain emotion like as a text, and then the emotion can be like described as a body movement. That was very interesting observation. So I thought that this could be some good tool for dancers or actors to explore some diverse movement. So what I want to say is, yeah, I really enjoyed this kind of interactive and iterative loop between the human and also the tool that I provided, and also the text generated by AI. So there are a bunch of like some reinterpretation between them, and it's always like evolving. I really liked that kind of aspect. But somehow I just wanted to point out this one is because in a way there are lots of intentions. I also manipulate the data, and also the AI also somewhat like manipulate the data. So there are multi-layered translation. In that way, we somewhat lose certain important information. However, that actually provides a great insight, like unexpected insight as well. And this kind of I'll say a misunderstanding or like errors can be considered as like a new area for us to explore. So I wanted to point out that yeah, so this can be a creative opening as well. So yeah, I'm gonna send to Jess, you are muted, so yeah.
Yes. Okay, yeah, so I'm just wrapping up. Basically, Moon has summarized the points very succinctly already. But I think I want to stress that I see the interest in the translation between text-based prompts and input and outputs in terms of movement, and also as human beings we carry the sensations or the feelings in the moment into the generation of our movement and choreography. So I think that creates interesting chemistry and dynamics in this whole dialogical process. And the other thing is with these AI-based prompts, of course, we can think further about how to work from the programming from that end, but as well as welcoming any sort of unexpected outputs or prompts or generations, as they could be really good stimulants for creative possibilities and kind of bring us to think beyond our habitual ways of thinking and moving. Ultimately, we aim to reimagine the boundaries of creativity, collaboration, intelligence, and poetry in the age of AI, challenging traditional definitions and expanding the scope of artistic expression and pedagogical empowerment. What new modes of human AI intelligence is emerging? And that is still open for exploration and discussion. So that's our presentation. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Dr.
you.
Moon, Dr. Su, for this fascinating research presentation. Is there any urgent question? We still have 5 minutes. If not, we move to the next presenter, Alexa. But I want to know, is there any urgent question from audiences? If not, no, we can save all the Q&A part at the very end after Alexa's presentation. So I'll briefly introduce Professor Alexa here. Alexa is requesting more. Okay. Alexa is a leading voice on AI and social justice. She's a professor of English Women and Gender and Sexuality Studies, Theater, International Affairs, and East Asia Language and Literature at George Washington University in Washington, D.C., where she directs the Digital Humanities Institute. She's a faculty of Trustworthy AI Initiative and affiliated at the NSF Institute for Trustworthy AI in Law and Society. In 2024, she was named inaugural Public Interest Technology Scholar. Welcome. Her research title is AI Goes to Theater, an investigation through performance and interface theories. So welcome, Alexa, and the floor is all yours.
Thank you, Man and ATHE, for having me this morning. I'm going to talk about what happens when AI goes to theater with human audiences. And I'm going to use interface theory to investigate this new phenomenon. As you can see on the screen here, some of the key questions for this project include whom does the screen interface serve and how do artificial intelligence tools affect theatrical publics? And these AI apps on audiences' phones developed by the theater makers, developed by the theater space and the play-going space, and making connections to the space outside as well, the society at large. The second question is, how does AI kind of affect all these relationships in the context of theater? Basically, screens, if you think of your cell phone screen, your computer screen, they're a site where cultural and performative meanings are generated and negotiated. And interface theory is especially useful in thinking about screens' roles in regulating the public's access to performance. Screens can produce new ambient conditions of theater going. Some will say it's distraction, but in my view, it's just the multi-layered channels to access the performance, but also to think about the world that audiences are supposedly left behind when they come in. And the screens, AI-infused screens, change the public's relationships to themselves and to the performance. And in particular, in my case study, this production called All the World's a Screen. It's an Irish sign language production. Screens in that show become co-spectating theatrical publics because the theater makers, they actually call those the AI translation apps on audiences' phones a co-spectator, like a guest that audiences bring to the show. The crew encouraged the theater-going publics to use their AI app on the phone and think of it as an anthropomorphized machine guest. And they can use this to obtain auto-captioning based on post-analysis of the actor and to receive retail suggestions that the AI deemed relevant, whatever the actor is wearing. So operating both within and beyond the fabula of the performance, AI-infused screens create multiple theatrical publics through an imperfect spectatorial proxy. So the AI is a guest, but also a proxy. AI conjoins and these connect people and ideas across the playing space and play-going space. So generative AI used in the arts, I see it as a ghost of the public, a synthetic version of the publics or a shadow public. It is coded to produce synthesis of anonymized public voices. This is similar to kind of producing a blurry picture of the linguistic contour of the World Wide Web. The screen as interface and as assistive technology is neither an ideologically neutral blank canvas nor an artistically integrated framing device for dramatic narratives. To demonstrate this idea, my idea of kind of AI as a kind of blurry mirror image, I generated this image using my prompts with DALL-E 2. It's been some time now. And this image illustrates my argument about AI being a pixelated image of ourselves and of the publics. So I'm going to look at three keywords. We have performance and interface theory, as well as the publics. I'm going to define each, and then we'll proceed to look at the case studies. So performance. A theatrical performance is an intentioned enactment of texts. Some would say dramatic text, but it can also be social texts. And importantly, this enactment is typically bracketed from social practices of daily life by technologies of representation. At least this is the argument advanced by Diana Taylor and several others. So it has to be bracketed off, and it's a technology. It's thanks to technology of representation, which I want to emphasize here. It requires some kind of interface, right? Theater is an interface, just like AI. And these interfaces will frame, will deliver, will narrate the story in a stage production. So without interface, we will not have theater. It's not just a proscenium stage, but the entire setup is a type of interface. So spectatorship, when we go to theater, spectatorship really depends on separation of space inhabited by publics and a somewhere else that is being created and depicted. And AI is actually a type of theater in this regard, because technologies of representation govern stagecraft and statistics craft, right? Stagecraft would give you theater. Generative AI, the generative mechanism, statistics-based, would be a representation of the data sets it's trained on. So it's a kind of a randomized representation. And AI does carry out certain kind of enactment. This enactment based on user's prompt. If you think of the prompt like prompt in the context of theater, it becomes very clear that we should see AI's operation as theatrical. So AI's outputs are framed and delivered by various interfaces, what I call a technology of representation. And most notably, with the latest generation of GenAI, that technology of representation, that interface is actually natural language, right? So language itself as a new techno-linguistic condition, because language is the material and the logic of the operation of this machine. So AI's outputs through these interfaces would then end up affecting our self-knowledge, like who do we think we are, for example, and our relationship with the performance, our relationship with other audience members in the auditorium. Interface, if we think about it, it basically is any point of interaction between different environments, between different individuals. Interfaces mediate human actions. Interface is a meaning-making agent, not just a neutral vehicle, right? And we understand that interfaces govern performance events, all performance events, and interfaces construct the publics, because without the framing device, without the interface, you can't speak of a theatrical publics. Like this group of people who all bought tickets to the same show that night, and they show up. So there's kind of a commonality that connects them. There are several key theorists in this field. Marshall McLuhan, for example, speaks of interfaciality. It's basically concerned with the metamorphosis of two structures. So it's not so much a bridge. Actually, whenever you have an interface, it's affecting both entities. Alexander Galloway takes it one step further to talk about an interface as a point of transition between different mediatic layers within a nested system. Let's unpack this. So mediatic layer is basically a layer that is mediated. A nested system is an enclosed system of representation. So think of theater stage as nested. Theater stage is one such system. And a codex book. A codex book is a nested system because it contains words, or the silver screen when you go to cinema. Last but not least, the publics. John Dewey had an early definition. This is 20th century definition of what a public is. Basically, it's a group of people who are collectively affected by indirect consequences of transaction. So the transaction can be legal, like there's a legislation, right, or some economic consequences. But more current theory understands it even more broadly. Dewey says the private individual, they may have certain concerns, has nothing to do with the public. So there's kind of distinction between the private individual and the public, but more current understanding is more sophisticated. We understand that private life is constructed by public life, right? The personal is political. There's no way to really make such a clear division, and recognizing interdependency between humans is really important. So with all this understanding, we're bringing them together: performance, interface, and publics. The theater publics relationships to performance, I argue, is framed by interfaces. Interfaces are sites, unique sites that make these relationships possible. And a public is formed in relation to dramatic discourses that address them, and that is facilitated by interfaces. So if you think of screen as an interface, right, in contrast to the stage, there's a misconception I want to address. People think of screen as stable, right? The key difference people often say between film and theater is that theater has contingency, film is editorialized, right? It's fixed, it's finalized, it's like a book. They think of screen as ideologically transparent. It's just a screen, right? Interfaces are taken to be synonymous with the media themselves. So that's an important misconception. And I believe the production, All the World's a Stage, really compels people to rethink this and kind of think about how interfaces are, of course, not neutral. It's more than just a vehicle. If we take a little pause here and think about what exactly is a play. So I've isolated 3 key functions of a play. Think of a play, right? It has preservative function. If you think of a play text, it contains words. It's a script that preserves certain artistic ideas. It's waiting to be activated. And so it has a generative function. When you take it, when you embody it, when you dance it out in theater, it's a kind of social action to activate that text. So to transform the preservative function into a generative function. And all this involves purposeful, intentioned interaction with words, with bodies, with different bodies. That's what a play does. And so in this context, the function of an interface, it's like a series of windows, windows onto windows onto windows. Bolter and Richard Grusin, in their famous theory of mediation, they say that representation is not a window onto the world, but rather is itself windowed with other windows that open on to other representation or other media. And so this is a show from 2022. So kind of toward the tail end of the global pandemic of COVID, they built an artificially intelligent translation app to work with this experimental production. The production is episodic in nature. It's not a like full-length narrative theater. It's kind of episodic, and they have two actors. They sign Irish Sign Language. And the apps, the translation apps, what they call machine guests, could could help humans, quote, see what a machine sees when it went to an event for people and machines, according to the stage bill. The title of this show is a nod to Jacques' speech, "All the World is a Stage," in Shakespeare's As You Like It, and alludes to screen's world-making capacities. And it was staged in Trinity College Dublin, and then at the Royal Irish Academy in 2022 and 2023. They wanted to promote cultural exchange among deaf, hard of hearing, and hearing individuals, and to compel audiences to reflect on human-machine relations, as well as what we call prosthesis, right? Hearing aid, you have all sorts of aids, and they think of this AI app as just another aid. So the two actors, Alvin Jones and Leanne Quigley, they stood side by side. They performed side by side in contrasting styles. They performed selected scenes from As You Like It, Hamlet, Macbeth, and Romeo and Juliet, as well as Sonnet 18. And so eventually they made a short film out of it called That Is the Question. But primarily here, we're going to just focus on the theater production. So the production distinguishes itself from other deaf performances. For example, the New York Deaf Theater that did Titus in 2016. There are also work that incorporate multimedia to tell stories. The Wooster Group is well known for that. For example, their Cry Trojans in 2015. Now, this one is very different. It distinguishes itself from those multimedia and deaf performances because it's a world filled with AI screens, but it's not used on stage. It's actually off stage in audience's hand, and these screens connect different worlds within between the worlds depicted by the stage and in social world outside, right? Because of its social media functionality, like suggesting retail suggestions. So this AI is a social media device. It's a heuristic device, right? Because it's there to help audiences understand sign language. And it's a metacritical device because it constructs both the object of vision and its subject. The object of vision is the performance on stage, and the subject is the human audiences. So electronic devices are generally forbidden in formal stage performances, right? Silence your phone and so on. But organizers here, they go against the grain. They encourage theater goers to aim their phones equipped with Google Lens at the actors to obtain real-time auto captioning. But I must say, from my analysis, these captions are very, very flawed. The captioning of sign language is based on wireframe tracking of the actors, like this. And the app, when set to retail mode, provides potentially distracting images and links to clothing items that were deemed relevant based on whatever it recognizes on stage. So the app actually fosters what we call channel surfing. Channel surfing behaviors. The channel surfing behavior can be understood through Walter Benjamin's concept of distracted attentiveness. So when developed at the intersection of architecture and film studies, Benjamin theory has key implication for our study of theater and audience. The state of distraction comes about not so much by way of attention as by way of habit. When spectating something, we would naturally think of something else. So that in itself is a type of distraction, but it's attentive distraction because our body remains in theater. So general familiarity with the Shakespearean canon in this case, right, for the audiences, they allow audiences to understand the dramaturgical meanings. And they don't necessarily have to do attentive observation of performed elements. Now, watching a performance with and through the AI app also encourage reciprocal embedding of perceiver and the perceived. It's interesting that there are so many layers here of mediation. I would like to lay them out for you. So what happens is you see here, there's a big screen upstage that displays the text they are signing. The actors remain in the diegetic bubble. They do not interact directly with the screen. And then in audience's hands, they have smaller screen. They have their cell phone screen with the AI app. There's actually an interpreter on stage with the two actors who will provide a voiceover in modern English, which was auto-transcribed on the screen upstage. So the auto-transcription of spoken words, the words are themselves a translation of sign language, is different from Shakespeare's text. So you have multiple kinds of textual channels going on already. And on the screen, also, there's a live video feed showing the computer analysis of the poses and gestures of the actors as wireframe figures. So there are 4 channels of communication, just to sum it up for you. Number 1, you have sign language, because this is sign language performance, sign language. And then there's auto captioning based on pose analysis. That's the first one. Number 2, you have verbal simultaneous interpretation, and then speech to text transcription of that interpretation. Number 3, you have Shakespeare's text that's projected. And number 4, you have retail suggestions as part of social media enhanced networking. Now, if that is not confusing enough, I will now talk about the challenge of the machine translation, right? So how they made this app, it's actually an API, application programming interface. They combined an API for pose recognition. A lot of these are kind of off-the-shelf models that are available commercially. And then they also used Google Lens image recognition feature and the mobile operating system's auto captioning functionality. So to combine all these to create this app. Sign language grammatical structures, it differs from that of spoken language. And Shakespearean language adds another layer of challenge. So in translating sign language into modern English, the experimental app produced fragmented sentences because they only capture word-level grammatical rather than holistic meanings. It misses the emotive, semantic meanings of hand gesture and facial expressions. We know that sign language is actually not just about your hands. It's the whole body, your facial expression, everything. So like sign language expression of the day after today, for example, we came across simply as tomorrow when the auto captioning is operating. Now, is the word tomorrow different from the day after today? I would say poetically, they are different because in saying tomorrow, it's a condensed expression, but in spelling it out, the day after today, you are making a statement. So the captioning just does this in a matter-of-factly tone, rather than it cannot add any question mark, for instance. If they are doing tomorrow question mark, if they're signing that, the app will often just tell tomorrow because they recognize that they're doing that word. In some cases, fragmentation may work well. For example, in Macbeth, you have this famous line, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow. Now, the app often misses fast-paced signing and slow-paced meditation at the same time. So just to contrast it, the two actors, they sometimes will sign the same passage. One is very fast, the other is slow. You know, to kind of test the app's capacity. The app is really prone to so-called it's prone to under-translate or mistranslate the sign language performance. So audiences who experience a moment in the performance solely through the app would derive dramaturgical meanings not integral to the narrative being signed. As in, you also have to keep an eye on what they are signing and performing, and not just kind of stay glued to your phone and read the subtitles. This is perhaps akin to the experience going to the opera, where they provide as super titles or side titles, right? These flaws were the focus of the proof of concept production. They wanted to showcase how the AI co-spectators would see the production in a different light, the way a machine would see it. So the presence of the app created a desire for instantaneous, full-fledged textual rendition of sign language, but then it actually does not fulfill that desire. That auditorium was populated by humans who saw distorted versions of the stage performance through their machine guests. And so there's much to be said here, I think, about AI's roles beyond distortion, right? I see it more as connection, because without this kind of devices, when we go to theater, we tend to leave the world behind, right? You're not thinking about shopping generally. You're not thinking about this social world, at least in conventional Western realist theater. Here they are trying to bring all these worlds together all at once. And that's why it's kind of difficult. So they're creating multiple publics, basically. You have theater going public, they're physically seated in the hall. You have the AI, it has social media kind of capacity, so you're connected to the elsewhere, connected to the publics outside. And the interface here, it's the AI interface. It's actually not just a bridge. You don't think of it as a translator of sign language strictly. It becomes a co-spectator. So they are anthropomorphizing the AI screen. And the screen then serves as a spectatorial proxy. It's not a replacement, but it's a proxy. It's a go-between between hearing audiences and the sign language performer. So there are many other examples. I want to take the final portion of dedicate the final portion of my talk to talking just briefly about other theater artists and dancers' use of AI. Annie Dorson, who calls herself algorithmic theater artist, actually has been using generative algorithm as an aesthetically productive partner in performance. That's before the rise of GPT. So she used a kind of an early version of what we know now as ChatGPT, GPT-2. Hello, hi there. In 2010, for instance, is used GPT-2. It's basically a conversation. It's a dramatized AI auto-generated conversation between Michel Foucault and Noam Chomsky. So she took the language, the key elements of their 1971 debate, and then had the AI automatically generate a theatrical piece based on that. In 2013, she did a Hamlet called A Piece of Work. And she said it was a machine-made Hamlet for a post-humanist age. But make no mistake, there was a human actor. There was a human actor. So there's a live actor performing alongside a screen, which shows randomly resequenced passages from Hamlet. So the AI is not actually writing new text. It's like a mixer. So it randomly kind of resequence, and then the human actor perform against that. And the lighting systems were automated. They also had some music. So algorithm generated new songs and visuals, and the lighting was controlled by the AI system as well. Essentially, when the AI is kind of recombining Shakespeare's words, it's reacting to the frequency and infrequency of word patterns in the text. And then you remix the source material. So the human actor, the lone human actor, importantly emerged out of the audience, not from backstage. And then to converse with the rearranged Shakespearean words, the algorithm made decision after decision over and over, generating a nonstop flow of effects without causes and causes without effects, But Annie Dawson says that's exactly what she wants. The algorithm doesn't have to know what grief is or revenge or any of that. Is perhaps to lay bare the artifice of dramatic structures. In my view, a piece of work, it's similar to All the World's a Stage. It's a kind of social collaboration facilitated by AI, right? It's not about who is replacing whom, but rather it's a new form of collaboration, especially if you see AI as a pixelated image of humans' collective output. Then the output is actually deeply human. So it's no longer, I want to break down the dichotomy of kind of humans versus machines. And because the algorithm remixed words, in the case of a piece of work, they're actually human in origin. It's not writing new text per se. It's more a lottery machine. So there are a lot of crucial differences there. And I wanted to wrap up by just thinking broadly, why do we need critical AI studies and performance studies? What do we gain if we bring the two together? Well, first of all, theater is the study of artifice and probability, right? Probable worlds. AI, too, excels in probabilistic decision-making. So theater envisions worlds we want to live in, not just the world given to us by tech bros. AI is a social technology, and it can construct imaginative worlds, commonly known as hallucination. But I think if we think of it as mirage or a mirror, might be more accurate. So AI, like theater, is an artistic form of adaptive representational technology. AI, at its core, is artistic. Here are more reasons why we should bring critical AI theory and performance studies together. So audiences, when they go to theater, they tend to engage in suspension of disbelief, right? Because they know it's mediated representations. Now, users of AI, they're often swayed by the fictional representation of consciousness and persuasive agency. So in both drama and AI, there are trustworthy and untrustworthy agents and action-worthy agents. Therefore, the study's insights could enable more critical use of AI. Instead of taking it all in, you treat it as theater. You treat it as drama. Don't believe everything every character has to say. In fact, people regularly do that, like castings in doubt. That is the pleasure of going to theater, rather than kind of at first degree, right? So from performance studies perspectives, AI algorithmically adapts human-produced words to generate outputs. And that's why there are so many parallels between these two, and that's why it is so important. I just wanted to echo very briefly the wonderful talk that we have just heard. Cyber Joubin is a wonderful dance project. They also kind of make a claim on preservative function. It's trying to preserve a disappearing dance form. The word cyber Joubin refers to cybernetics, and Joubin is a Thai word that means stream. So it's a human AI codancing project as interactive preservation of embodied knowledge of intangible heritage. Intangible heritage, of course, is difficult to preserve. If you have photographs, you have video footage, they are never three-dimensional. The best preservation, some people argue, is actually to continue to practice it. In this case, you need people to continue to dance it. So they used AI who would take a live feed of dancers to create virtual characters that could improve its own choreography, and human dancers would riff on the virtual models' poses and their own dances. So my first two examples, they are theater, so it's kind of more verbal, more focused on words. And this example is a combination. It's focusing on the active somatic presence. Interestingly, the virtual characters, just like the the textual generation, the virtual characters, they're not limited by physics or the anatomy of joints. So oftentimes they'll do crazy, impossible movements. I believe we just heard in our first presentation some parallels to that. But the creators are saying that our constraints as humans actually give meanings to our art, and it is inspiring, it is interesting to see virtual characters who can defy gravity. But that actually doesn't mean that the human actors would necessarily imitate that, but it gives you inspiration in terms of how to transcend, how to kind of move your bodies differently. And everything is happening live, so it's quite powerful. And both sides are riffing off of each other, right? It's not just the humans being influenced by AI, but AI is continuing on this live feed of human dancers in front of it. And so it's simultaneous. And I really applaud this kind of creative, artistic uses of AI, not as content creators, but in this case, it's literally a mirror, right? It's a mirror to inspire you to see yourself. You can't fly, obviously, not like the avatar, but you could derive new movements. Now, how authentic is this compared to the traditional Thai dance that they're trying to preserve? Of course, these are new elements, but their argument is that to keep the heritage alive, this is actually the best approach, rather than kind of being rudimentary limited to the 100 core elements in the Thai dancing tradition. So I'm going to conclude here, and let's begin our discussion. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you so much, Dr. Alexa. I wonder if there are any question from the audiences to both presentation, both from Professor Alexa and Professor Moon. I'll lend the floor for audience first. If not, then I can go my questions. Okay, I'll start with my questions. So I think from both presentations, I saw there's a clear, well, you didn't call it out, yes, but there's a clear talking about subject and object. For example, in first presentation, there's you talk about the interactive misunderstanding error and how do you composing and generating new creative possibility from this interactive position. Actually, this is how do we give a part of our authority from our subjects to the object, right? So how do you think about the relation between the subject and object in your work? For second presentation, I'm interested, could you be more clarify with your, what do you mean the screen as a screen as is ideological transparent? Do you see it as a screen's agency, or as a kind are you still land the conversation in the representation? So which part? Why does it is just a little bit clarify why is it the ideological transparent? Because I thought it's probably a convergence place for different ideological, but still, a possibility limited in the representation. Yeah, but how do you say this reframe would give a screen or technique more freedom, probably, or more agency space, or do you say it's a limitation? Yes, thank you for both presentations.
Thank you for the wonderful question. I will clarify that it is a misconception people have. They think the screen is neutral. It's just a vehicle to broadcast footage, or you look at the screen, there are subtitles. And I'm saying it's not neutral at all, right? Because it's not ideologically transparent. In this case, the AI screen is designed to distract you, but also to connect you to the social world outside of theater. When it makes retail suggestions, when it mistranslates, undertranslates, then you may realize you're missing something. So you would have to pay attention to the stage. Also, interestingly, because of the randomized feature of generative AI, each person's AI app translates slightly differently. It's like it's the same as you and I put in the same prompt to ChatGPT, but each of us would get slightly different reactions each time. It's never exactly the same. So that's an artistic feature, but also challenging, right? So I just wanted to rethink what the screen is. People tend to not think a lot about the ideology of the screen. They think it's just a screen. It projects, but it's more than just a device, more than just a vehicle, because screen itself already has been anthropomorphized so much these days when people think of the relation to the screen. I'm happy to discuss more, but I want to leave time to Moon's team as well and Chiayi.
Do you want to go first, Chiayi?
Yes, I can give just some. I think that's
Frozen.
object, or but I tend to think of it more as intersubjective. So drawing on, from Merleau-Ponty, the phenomenology way of thinking, the human in the world, it's ongoing interaction, the dialogical, the chiasmus, the intertwinement of subject and so kind of upsetting the dichotomy of the subject and object, but thinking about in these interactive terms, intersubjectivity. But I think when it comes to AI, we can think further about what kind of subjectivity, or what kind of agent we are interacting with. It does have agency. It can create these outputs, prompts. It can make decisions. It can take actions, but it is different from human beings. It is it's powered by the algorithms and how it processes data and how it accumulates its own knowledge of the world into data. So that's, I think, a very fascinating question for us to think and understand further what this new agent we are interacting with, and how I mean, like with the kind of project that Moon and I are collaborating on, we have a certain way of deciding how to make the program, or how to create the codes. So that's within like a framework that we have, I guess, more agency in control and directing, and how we would like it to be geared towards artistic empowerment, creativity, and all that. But I am amused with Professor Alexa's example of how the readings, the audience reads screens, and then what it captures, it leads to these ads of other like stores. So what happens when that sorts of like consumers intention is put into the programming of the mechanism? That's a different thing. So that's my response to the very fascinating, important question. Moon, do you have things to say?
So yeah. So to be honest, I never engaged with this kind of like very sophisticated like a discussion in this like a field of study. I'm kind of like a technician here, but I can just share like two examples. One, so as just mentioned, I always create the like the technical tool, like, and then I set the frame, like a technical frame. I'm talking about like the subjectivity and objectivity can be like interchangeable. So yeah, so even though like I set the frame, like I'm very amazed and also like in a way like manipulated by AI's responses in a way like so sometimes I really feel like I'm led by the AI, the responses. So in a way like it's very hard to define like who's like a subject, who's like a object in that in that sense, in that technical sense. And also at the same time, like when you apply to the actual practices. So let's say like so I can just share one example. So usually like let's say a dance duet. So there are two people and then they engage with each other. In a way like so then they like interact with each other. But if we apply AI to that, it's very interesting. It's because AI is kind of like being placed in the middle. It's because like a person A is engaged with AI and also person B is engaged with AI. So it's really like becoming the connection. It can be like a like kind of third brain or third intelligence or third eye. So I really like the fact that like this AI kind of like a creating like a new network of communication or interaction or iteration. So again, like so it's very hard to I really appreciate the question. My answer is very difficult to define. And I think as just mentioned, so Professor Seetoo is actually just to me. Anyway, just mentioned like it's very interchangeable. Yeah, that's my response.
I also have a very specific question for you. Just a technical, the acceleration. This is fascinating. The acceleration is actually a little bit like visualizing the Laban notation. Do you know it? Laban notation moment analyzes effort, fluid, shape. So what the acceleration? How do you come to do the so? Do you have a like? I don't know the result. Do you have a like a very specific quantification of the? I saw that an arrow when you do the movement is show that the arrow pew go that way. But I wonder, do you have a very qualification for it, like a specific data? How much does it accelerate for the movement analysis? Because I'm a dancer, so I'm curious about it. Another question for Dr. Chiayi is how do you see the generation, the critical perspective? I know I saw the fascinating project you collaboration with each other, but I wonder how do you generating from your embodied experience or bodily practice? How do you say this process can generating a critical possibility for the both AI technology and or beyond? Yeah, thank you for both.
Just do I go first?
Yes, please.
Okay. So creative. So I guess yes, but in my brain. So let's say let's talk about like a generative art. Like for example, like you like a computer, you can do anything but within this frame. So technically you set the frame and then let the computer draw something within the canvas. And then let's say it's an improvisational dance piece, then still you actually need to provide a certain rule or instructions so that they can be in a way framed. That they, even though they explore their freedom, their creativity, they are within certain frame. So it's very similar. Like in this kind of situation, I use definitely math. Like so, like position A and then position B. Because of that, like I just calculate the magnitude and the direction, and then like I estimate the next direction, something like that. But again, like this range is determined by me. So let's say if it's accelerated in this way, and then I recognize this as an acceleration of the movement, for example, and then I decide the magnitude of the acceleration. So again, like I'm not sure I'm answering to your question, but again, the calculating is quite simple. It's just like checking the distance between two positions. But the way of utilizing that information is totally based on my prior experience, because I have known that like if I use that way, like it's good. So yeah, again, like so yeah, so I'm more like discussing like technical exploration, kind of hesitant, or I'm stepping myself, but yeah, I'm happy to answer to any further questions, but that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, as to critical exploration, I think well, in terms of performance making, I think it depends on, it still, comes back to the human creators. What informs the creation of a certain work? For example, in Avatar mythology, we set out to, use the inspiration from the Chinese classical text that talks about mythical geography and beasts. But what we what we are exploring is first, in the age of technology, avatar. What's the relationship between the person and its avatar? And then also we are thinking about those beasts, or these creatures, as a kind of projection of our inner beasts and monsters, and we're trying to explore the different dimensions of human psychology, even the dark side of human feelings and sensibilities in this sort of exploration. So what I'm trying to say is, we're not just using some fancy, spectacular technology to illustrate a Chinese mythology again, but we are putting like our contemporary sensibility in trying to explore subjectivity or what the experience of ourselves in this age of technology, and also some fundamental questions about struggles, desires, the inner, what we say, inner beasts of ourselves. So I think that's what I can think of at this point in terms of how to land in criticality in this kind of creative exploration. I imagine I will, when I get in further into collaboration with Moon about the pedagogical aspect, then we can think further about how we frame and term movements, how we interpret movements. Maybe there will be new insights in our next presentation after a while, after we have continued to explore. And we welcome all of you to keep give us feedback and push us for criticality. Yes.
Sorry, I'm not criticizing you, but I just I think this conversation is very interesting.
I really
can I
what you mentioned about the inner beast.
For Alexa,
when you said our inner beast,
why
you want to explore in the production, I thought your work is really cutting edge, and it makes us rethink technique and technicity, right? For a dancer, you need technique, and what is it? Is it human? What if it's machine assisted? And in my view, it just drives home the idea that art and technicity, art and technique is kind of just two sides of the same coin. There's no They're not in a positional relationship. So thank you.
For Alexa, I wonder why do you use the interface theory to do AI, which was, I think it was very interesting because when we talk about AI or technology, but interface is actually a media theory. So yeah, just want to hear more about it. And also a personal question for Prof. The Moon. Is your app open for public trial or something? I just need something to do my research to do the movement analysis. If yes, could you share it through email later to me, please? Yeah. If not, it's fine. Yeah.
So
you can go first, Alexa.
Interface theory is really useful because it's studying what an interface is. That it's piercing through the misconception. People tend to think of it as neutral. You don't think of the proscenium stage. You don't think of the theater building. You don't think of screen as having meanings before you stage something there, before you launch an app. But interface theory shows us that the interface contains a lot of ideological significance, and it's doing a lot of work beyond just conveying something, like projecting this footage. So in this sense, I think interface theory is very useful to AI studies, especially when we recognize AI's operation is theatrical. So interface helped me understand the first point, technologies of representation. And technologies representation, especially in interface, they are not innocent, right? The way it is created, that the way it operates, affects what kind of artistic meanings would be possible. Other artistic activities may not be possible at all. And so this technology of representation, this interface is governing the stagecraft. It's governing what work you could do there, even if people may not think of it deeply. And so the AI app interface in particular in All the World's a Stage is affecting the theater audience's self-knowledge because it has a meta function, right? In under-translating or mistranslating the sign language performance, in pointing audiences to retail suggestions. This is the costumes they are wearing, and you can buy it at this department store. It's not just distracting, but it's actually bringing a meta level. When you go to theater, right? Are you going to closely analyze the costumes unless you're a costume designer and think of what designer it might be, you know, what is the label? Typically, we don't. But in understanding this through interface theory, now we have a meta insight. Wow, that's what it's making us do. Instead of going through theater to be immersed in the story. There's no immersion. You might say it's a little bit Brechtian. It's kind of creating this distance, and it's healthy, so have a metacritical distance. That's why I think interface theory is so useful. So thank you.
Dr. Moon.
Excuse me, yes. If I have made any noise during your answer, please excuse me, let me share my screen. It can be really super quick. I think it could be good information for dancers. So yeah, I've been so NYU ITP IMA and also NYU Shanghai's IMA Interactive Media Arts Department, as we have been creating this website, the library, the tool itself, and also the website as well. So I've been main contributor to this. So yeah, so for example, if you get to that, then for example, if you want to get the hand pose, you can just do it immediately. That was the point. So we wanted to create a real time kind of a demonstration here. So I already opened a few examples. So with a few lines, so you can get the hand position in this way. So what you want to do if you can get this hand position, and also what if you want to get the whole body a key point, and also what if you can get the 3D mesh from your hand. what if you can train. So I can definitely show you a lot more example. So it's already on this website, and then I'm more than happy to answer any detailed question. So yeah,
Is
that's
it
my
very
answer.
similar to, a little bit too similar to the Google, what's the
So
name? Yeah, the
the
same.
media pipe, yes. So let's just say, yeah. So in terms of this kind of like machine learning model, like Google's like a video pipe, TensorFlows, those are like accessible, and then it can be in a way like we try to make them accessible for everyone. So in a way, like a touch designer, it has a bunch of examples utilizing those aspects, and also at the same time, like we can also do it like on the web. Like again, like the selling point would be like if you can do that on the web, like you can utilize your phone because you just like access the website and then do the motion tracking on your phone. Like so it will unlock certain creativities because let's say if you put this like into waterproof bag, and then you can do motion tracking under the water, or you can do motion tracking at the peak of the mountain, something like that. Because again, like this is possible on your computer. So excuse me, on your phone. So yeah, that could be something slightly different.
Thank you so much. I wonder if there are any other final questions from audiences? No? Okay, if not, thank you so much for today's wonderful panel, and we have forthcoming other panelists in the summer symposium, and I haven't prepared their name list, but I will send out later. But thank you so much. When I
Thank
have
you.
a recording link, I'll share to you. So please share where you want to share your talk or your fascinating
Yeah.
presentation. And then looking forward to meet you in the future conferences. Bye.
Thank you again, Mom.
Thank
Looking
you.
forward to recording.